Hey everybody, my name is Jen and this is Jen Geigley Knits. How's it going? Earlier this week I made an instructional video that's purely instructional video and it's all about turning sock tubes into a finished sock. I've had some people asking for this, and I used to, in my old YouTube, like how I started YouTube, it's just I used to make instructional videos, and sometimes I miss that, and sometimes if I have something like this with a lot of steps, I just want to make a purely instructional video that you don't have to wait through a bunch of talking, so I just get into it, and then I take you every step of the way from making a tube into a sock and cutting in the heel, splitting it into appropriately sized pieces for your foot. I have all the math in there and the instructions, and I even videoed like the Kitchener stitch and knitting the heel, knitting the toe, just in case you want to see every single step. It's there just in case. So if you want to go check that out, that was earlier this week. And then I just wanted to do my normal Saturday video too. I'm filming this a bit ahead because right now in real life, I am actually at a sock cranking weekend with my Dean & Bean knitting machine. So that's where I am today, but not today. But today I'm actually home. So anyway, a couple of things before I get into that, because I'm going to show you how I pack for a knitting retreat, because this knitting retreat actually starts Wednesday and goes through, like, you kind of leave on Sunday. And luckily I live nearby, so I can just come home every day and I don't have to like stay there. But people come from far and wide, like from last year, I think they came from like Minnesota and Illinois and Nebraska and everywhere. So people definitely travel to come and do this. It's like a big thing. And so I'm really excited to go, and I'm so happy that it's convenient for me and I can just like kind of around work times, just go and set up and then come back and get the kids from school and then go again and crank for a while. So it's a little easier for me. It's just, it's in Ankeny, Iowa, which is just outside of Des Moines where I live. And so it's really nice. So I'll talk about that in a bit, because as you can see back here, I am packing up all my gear and my stuff for that, because there's a lot of things involved, a lot of tools and supplies with sock knitting, and you don't want to forget something and have to come all the way back home and get it. So anyway, let's start with normal stuff from last week, some updates that I have. First thing is this IKEA fabric, which I've been thinking about ever since, and everybody commented like, I'm glad you guys liked it too. I think it's really fun. This print is very me. The colors are just really fun, and I love the oversizedness of it. But I think right away that this wasn't enough for what I kind of want to do with it. So I did end up finding another big cut of it on Etsy last week at a really reasonable price, because again, sometimes these go for a lot and then I just won't do it. But like a bunch of us were saying in the comments, IKEA does not sell this fabric anymore in stores where we used to be able to go get like a few yards. So you really have to find the old ones and find people who have some in their stash somehow. So now I have, I think, enough, and you know, these aren't all the way unfolded, but I think I have enough to do the dress that I want. And if I don't have enough to do that, I think I do though. If not, I could definitely do a matching top with a skirt, which also sounds fun because I like a set situation. So I have the Sonia Phillips sewing book, which has some really, really nice, boxy, very simple patterns. I am not an advanced sewist. I would still consider myself a beginner. I've made a few dresses and I've made quilts that are kind of, you know, okay. They're not perfect by any means, but I can't do anything really advanced. But this would have to be a simple garment, I think, anyway, just because it's so bold and, you know, huge. So I think simple is best for this anyway. So I might go to the Sonia Phillips book. I think it's called The Act of Sewing. And she also has like separate patterns too. But if you have a great simple pattern suggestion, what's the other one I have? I have a long dress that's really simple too, another pattern, but I think I'm going with Sonia Phillips. But if you have a very simple top and skirt pattern that you know of, or just a plain simple dress pattern, because like the ones I've done before, like the IKEA duvet cover dress, That was a Sonia Phillip boxy dress, and then I made a little waist tie to go around, to wrap around and tie, just to give it a little bit of shape. I might do that again. I really like that boxy easy shape with kind of a short sleeve. And I think I have enough. I haven't laid it all out with the paper patterns yet, but look how fun this is. I'm so happy I was able to find more, and this was $20. So total, I've spent $31 on the fabric. I washed this one so you can tell it's a little frayed, but I think that's really fun for some kind of garment or set. So that was exciting. The other thing I acquired this week is my Degan hat. So excited about this hat. I'm sure you've seen these hats around. There was first a navy version with red letters that I really, really wanted, but I didn't jump on it fast enough. And that was maybe last year. And I thought about that one ever since. And then Degan came out with like the orangey, it's like an orangey brown color, and everybody got that at Rhinebeck. And as soon as I got to their booth, they were gone. And so I missed that one too. And I was like, ugh, because it's like a really nice wool, thick, nicely made hat. It's made in the USA. There's a company they work with to make these, and it has like a nice adjustable little leather strap in the back. And I just love the look of it, and I really wanted one. So just maybe last week, Degan had like a pre-order, or maybe they had some of these in stock, but they had navy with the white, and I was like, this is me, I'm done, I want it so bad. The orange color wasn't like my first pick, but I really like it. It's everybody that has it, I'm just like, oh, your hat is so good. I was obsessed with it every time I saw someone wearing it. But then this navy, I was like, that is my color. It's like kind of sporty and goes with everything, and I just love it. So this is like my new favorite hat, and they're a bit expensive. Like, it's an investment hat piece for a hat, but I knew I wanted it so badly, and I knew I'd wear it, and it's like, you know, as sporty as I get. So got my knit hat, very excited about it. This one also, she said, has a more flexible brim than the orangey brown one. The orange brown one is very stiff out like this, which you can do. You can make this one that way too, like very straight. But the orange one really stays like that, and it's very like hard. And this one's a little softer, so you can kind of bend it a little bit to kind of shape it around your head. So I do like that. One little acquisition this week, besides this, I really treated myself. It was not at the same time, but they arrived at the same time, is the thread and maple on the go little carrying case. I have had my eye on these forever. I think I looked at them at Rhinebeck last year, and then I really looked at them 100 times at Vogue Knitting Live in New York City, and I was picking them up and putting them down, picking them up and putting them down. I was looking at the brown ones, and there's like a dark teal and then the black, and I decided to just go for it because whenever I ordered this, there was a pop-up on Instagram that came up on my feed, and it was 15% off this, and I was like, ugh, I'm doing it. And there's no regrets. It's so, so, so cute and cool. And it holds everything you need. Like, I have bags with the pouches inside with all the stuff. This has everything, seriously, that you need. So the back has a little zipper, and inside are these really cute little metal stitch markers. So you have stitch markers right here, a bunch of them. It's so great. This is a beautiful magnetic, very satisfying closure. And inside are the tiny little scissors and 2 sizes of darning needles in this little pocket back here. You can put something else there too. Little cute little snips with a nice sharp end that are just perfect. And I think the scissors come in different colors depending on your color theme, but mine are black to go with the all black. And this is everything you need. I just think this is so fun to throw in your bag. It looks so cool, it's so compact, and it holds all your stuff. And I absolutely love this thing, so I'm very excited. It's the thread and maple on the go. They just call it the on the go thing. Is it an organizer? I don't know. Case? Anyway, I love it. The other thing I was going to talk about really quick is something happened this week, and many people notified me on Instagram. People were messaging me, telling me this, so I didn't see it until they were bringing it to my attention. But there was a sweater that walked down the runway at London Fashion Week last week that looks very, very, very similar to my Warmthness sweater. I'm not saying it's a copycat. I'm actually honored that there's something on the runway in fashion right now that is exactly what I was doing. And it's not exact, but it's very, very, very close. Let me just show you. So they had it in camel and black. And as you can see, the flaps are more overlapped than my sweater. And some of them are longer and shorter, which like we all talked about in the comments as I was placing these and as I was knitting them, people were like, you know, make them overlap more or make them different sizes. And I was like, yeah. And then they did. So this is from the J.W. Anderson show at London Fashion Week. Isn't that so funny? Did we have the same idea? Do great minds think alike? How does this happen? So now I really, really want to knit a black one. And I love the idea of the longer, shorter panels. It's kind of asymmetrically placed. And I love, theirs is more like a ribbed material. It looks like they kind of just sewed them on. You know, it's different with fashion. They have more, you know, resources than us hand knitters. But now I do want to make a different version kind of like that, and I still want to make my cropped Bjork version that's more gray or a neutral color, natural color with her flaps. That was like her original, the original one that my Warmthness sweater was based on. So again, if you're just joining me now and you don't know what I'm talking about, I did not explain this very well. I designed a sweater called Warmthness that was based on a Bjork sweater in December, January. And so mine was chartreuse. My flaps are a little bit differently placed, but it's very much the same idea where people instantly saw these sweaters and were like, oh my gosh, Jen, have you seen this? It's like your Warmthness sweater. And so everybody was sending me that on Instagram. So thank you all. It's really fun to see something like that in Fashion Week and like, you know, from a real designer. So it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I'm like kind of excited about it, and to see these other versions and to like open up your mind to like what the flaps can be and what the flaps can do. And everybody who was making fun of my flaps in the comments, the boob flaps, I know some people did not like the flaps. I totally get it, but look at London Fashion Week and who's rocking the boob flaps now. Anyway, I want to make more boob flap sweaters, and it's really fun to see this. And it was cool to see those pictures on real models and like in this, you know, I love knitwear in fashion shows, and I'm always looking at that stuff too. So thanks to everybody who sent that to me. It was really interesting to see that. I didn't have much time to work on the Aperture, the Noro sweater I was working on, but I did get a few rounds in on the Tinde? Oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called. My Sandnes sweater, and this one goes so quickly. So I got a little bit deeper into the color work here. I had coffee with my friend Erica on Sunday, which was really nice. We both kind of needed a day to like sort of girl talk through our lives and stuff. So it was really good to see her and get a little bit more going on this one. I don't know what else I was working on. Did I work on? But I am gonna insert a little footage here of me and Erica at coffee because she's working on the coolest project right now. So if you saw me and my friend Erica at Rhinebeck, she was like my dark-haired friend that came with me this year and the year before. This year, you might remember, I guess it was 2023, whatever. So she was wearing a vintage Mary Maxim pattern sweater that she knit a few years ago with buffaloes on it. So it was a cream sweater with buffaloes. I'll put a picture of it here so you can see it if you didn't see us in real life. So yeah, it's tricky, but she figures out these vintage patterns and kind of updates it with modern yarn and sizing, because it's not the same gauge usually, is what she finds out. But she's done a few of these. So the buffalo pattern that she wore last year was such a hit, and everybody was stopping us. Like every 2 steps, they were like, what is that sweater? You know, or it looked familiar to some people, but they didn't place it as like the Mary Maxim old patterns and stuff like that. So that was so much fun that Erica has decided to make another vintage Mary Maxim pattern, and I just have to show you what it is because it's really fantastic. So here she is kind of explaining it and showing me the pieces she's done so far.
And then here is the ill-fated back.
Okay, so going down a needle size?
So
oh my gosh, can you just keep it?
So I am going to keep it, I think, and then maybe put it on a sweatshirt or a hoodie or something.
Okay.
So this one was a 9, and it's fine, but it's like a little bit too airy. And I wanted the tighter knit. See how it's like totally different.
Yeah.
And the color work looks better when it's tighter. And so then
so
here's
good,
the back.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You're so fast.
Oh my gosh.
You're so far.
I couldn't knit during the Super Bowl because I knit too much on Saturday.
It was stressful. It's so good.
Yeah. Black felt.
Was it brown?
It was like that gray.
Mm-hmm.
The gray felt, the black felt a little edgier.
Yeah, no, it does. A little wolfier.
Yeah, yeah, it matches. It pulls it together, I think, a little bit better.
Yeah.
With the wolf. But the biggest size, but I'm knitting, so I'm knitting the biggest width.
Okay.
And the shorter length.
Because the pattern's old and
the pattern's old
weird.
And my gauge is off. Because, so if you think about finding those sweaters in thrift stores, they like stand up in a corner, right?
Yeah.
And they're so, it was knit with like a bulky, super bulky weight yarn.
Oh.
And it was really tight. So then it would just, they're just so heavy, and I wanted a more day-to-day cardigan.
Yeah.
And then bright red zipper.
So all of it's eco wool or no?
Yep. Yeah, all of it is eco wool.
So yeah, it was nice to catch up and have some coffee and do a little knitting and talk about all the things we want to knit next, which is everything. We both want to knit all the things. Everybody wants to knit all the things. So it's always fun to hang out and, you know, have some knitting time. Other than that, this week I did not have a ton of time to work on things yet, and it's in real life only Wednesday, so I'm sure I'll have more time by like Friday, but maybe not, because I do have the crank in, which I've kind of switched gears already. So I didn't really make a lot of progress on this. This is my Crowberry sweater from the MDK field guide called Moss, the brand new one. It is turning out really beautiful though. I can't wait to just bust out some more rounds on this because it's a beautiful fabric. It's really fun to knit. It's going along really quickly on these big needles. I think it's on 10s, 9s, 10s, US 10s. So this is, I'm holding these two yarns together for this. It is Hélène Magnusson's Love Story yarn, this one in front, along with some Flotu Lopi. So that makes a really fun fabric. And then I'm still trying to decide, but I think I'm really leaning towards green for this yoke up here, which I will show you, because she told stories about the moss in Iceland. That's what this is based on. And the crowberries are the little baubles within here. And so now I think I'm really feeling the green. So I do have green Lopi in a couple different shades. I have a real dark and kind of this color-ish, that lighter green. I think mine is that color. So I think I'm going green now, although I wasn't planning on that, but we'll see as I get further, I can decide then. So that's the Crowberry sweater that I've been working on. And then I got a little bit further on my Noctuidae cowl from Catherine Clark at Brooklyn General. And sorry, I've got all my ends hanging out down here. It's not that much further, but it's a little bit further. And now I'm approaching a big section of larger moth butterflies. And then this section will repeat again up here. So I'm getting there. It's just a little slow going. Like I said, it's triple stranded color work, which does take a little bit more time just to untangle, but it isn't a big deal. I just have to keep pushing through because it's so beautiful. It's a little squished up here, but it's turning out so pretty. And I know I'm gonna love this so much. I feel like I should just stick to maybe that one and see it through because I have so many things on the needles that I'm already kind of losing my way, I feel like, but I don't wanna get stressed out. I only did a few rounds on my Aperture, but this is a really easy one to pick up and just kind of do some rounds. I'm just doing some raglan increases, not a big deal. I'm just gotta keep track of where I'm at. And this is the Noro, that really natural Noro that it's Haunui and Haunui. Sorry. Haunui. I think I have the label. It's this beautiful, big, squishy Nora that's so beautiful, that comes in these great natural colors, and I'm absolutely loving knitting with it. The fabric it makes is so nice and squishy and soft. It feels really, really good. So I'm excited to just get this busted out too. I want to just pick one thing and just do it, but I also, from day to day, I have been just switching it up and grabbing what seems like fun at that moment, which there's nothing wrong with that. And then this is the knitting I took to coffee with Erica. This is the Sandnes sweater. From this booklet is this cover sweater, and it's the Tinde ladies sweater. There is like a men's version of this in here too, which I wasn't aware of at first because they look so different the way they knitted them. They knitted the men's, I'll just show you, in a darker color, so it looks different, like really different. There it is. Look at that. So this is the women's version in these exact colors in Fritidsgarn. So it's Sandnes Fritidsgarn in these awesome colors. This is like the one. I love it. Like, look at it with my hat. It's so good. And these, like I said last time, are such different colors for me, so it's fun to use something different than my normal yellow and chartreuse that are very, easy to pick every time. I got a little further down in the color work here. You can't super tell, but this one is also a fun one to just keep working on because it goes a lot faster. So I'll get through something, maybe next week though, because of the cranking. I'll be like in sock mode. So anyway, let's talk about that because now it's time to pack and get everything ready for my sock knitting weekend. So for this all comes apart except for this bottom base piece. This is a 3D printed machine, and so some people have like the metal Erlbachers, and that's a totally different thing. I mean, it's wow. The outcome is the same. They do the same thing, but they have their differences and their little quirks. But this is so nice and portable, and it's lightweight. And so these pieces just come apart very easily. You just take this off and take off the mast, and we can pack these separately. There's some nice little clamps that go with this. And I have a box, I'll show you, like a case to put this all in, because you want to keep it protected. You don't want anything to bang around your cylinder, and all the little needles in here and the crank, it's all very, like, you don't want to mess it up. So let me show you how I travel with it and how I store it when I'm not using it. I just found a really nice sturdy case at Joann Fabric. It's called Top Notch. In case you have a machine just like this, that's this size. It is a 5.2 gallon, 20 liter. It's 16.7 inches by 12.2 inches by 10.2 inches. And I'm sure you can find this one again because I didn't get it that long ago. Probably last year, and it's just the exact perfect size. I don't want it to be too big because I didn't want my machine to bang around inside. And then I always keep some bubble wrap in here Whoops. Oh yeah, okay. I keep some bubble wrap under it and around it just a little bit to cushion it just when I take it someplace, because I don't want it, I just want to protect my machine because it's, you know, it's a special piece of equipment. And then I just put these two pieces on top here, and it's just the right size. I usually don't put anything else in this container. It's just for my machine. So that is how I travel with it and take it to these things. And then this is very easy to like transport and throw in your car. Not throw, place gently in your car. So over here on the couch, I have laid out most of the things I'm going to bring for this weekend. And it does take a lot of supplies, and I'll go over all this stuff with you just in case you're interested. But here I've kind of tucked in my machine into its box, and I put the bubble wrap under it and on top of it. And then I just lay these two pieces here on this side. And then it is pretty much ready to go. I just have the lid that I put on to keep it safe. It has all these clamps all the way around. That's that. And then it comes with 3 clamps to hook it to the table just while you're working on it. And they match, which is so nice. And for this retreat, you have to bring your own table, which makes sense when you get there. You'll see there is tons of people in this room, all with their machines and their tiny little tables. We have little individual spots. You do not need a big surface. You just need this little workspace. And so I got this IKEA table that works pretty well. And I have another black folding table that I sometimes use. This is kind of easy to throw in your car. And if it gets a little wobbly, I can hold my foot on this end, which is kind of nice too. And then it even has like a little pocket thing back here that you can put like your scissors or your little tools in, which is kind of nice because there's not a lot of space around it for storage or anything. So that's my little table. And then you just set your machine on a corner and clamp around to keep it secure. So that is kind of how that works. Then you need to bring a drill and then an attachment, and this helps you wind cones. So I'm not going to totally do this right now, but these are the cones, and if you are cranking with a machine, you have to have your yarn on a cone. It's like, you know, when you have a hank of yarn and you're hand knitting, you can't just knit off a hank, you have to wind it into a cake. Same thing, you want perfectly even tension, and you can only get that with a cone. And so this attachment, let's see if I can get one off. On the drill, you can put your, I mean, I have accidentally 2 of them, but you put this on, this spins, and then I can take like a ball of yarn in my hand, spin it around the cone so that it looks like these, and then you're ready to knit off of that. So they have to be wound first or it will not work, and you'll be sad and it'll be a disaster and a mess, and you'll be like, why didn't I just wind a cone? So that's the easiest way to do that without like an extra winding machine. So yeah, I bring the drill to wind the cones, or I usually try to wind the cones before I go, like the ones that are lined up over here, because you don't want to take a lot of time messing with that. It's easier to do it at home before you leave, and then you're ready to go when you get there. But I do have extra cones to wind yarn on for that reason. And then I bring this just in case I want to do something on the spot that I didn't prepare ahead of time. Then I have my trusty MDK Modern Daily Knitting Rose Gold pouch that keeps all of my tiny small tools inside. And I'll go over this in a minute because there's a lot of really important things in here, and I just keep it all together in one place. Then pretty much everybody who uses a machine has a little ring light that either clips on or clamps to their table. My light is made to specifically clamp to this piece. Like Dean and Bean made this to work with a light, which is really, really nice. So this goes directly overhead the area that I'm cranking. So that fits like custom for the Dean and Bean machine, which is awesome. And this, if I happen to have electricity, like if there's an extension cord, I can plug this in, or I have this little cord that can be like a rechargeable situation if I have a charging block, and that will run my light too. So I can kind of do either way depending on the electricity situation at the crank in. I prepared some little cardboard feet for my whole family in case I feel like knitting socks for other people. because you really need to know how many inches your foot is to know how many rows to crank or rounds to crank. Or if you're doing the afterthought heel, like I was showing on my video, you still need to measure and know that your heel is being cut in the right place. So this is nice. I've got one for each member of my family and myself, and I just keep them on a little ring. Next, I have my favorite supply of all, an old school, but like the new release Trapper Keeper. And I just keep all my patterns in here, notes, pieces of paper, anything I want to keep. Like there's different sock machine patterns for different kinds of socks. You can do a toe up, you can do a cuff down, you can make shorties, and there's some different socks that I haven't tried yet that I have patterns for, and so I just print them out, put them in my Trapper Keeper, and then I have everything here. And I just put this in my bag and keep it all together, so I have that at all times. Next, I have these cast-on bonnets, and these are for the different cylinder sizes that I have for my machine. So you can cast on different numbers of stitches. I have one that's 72, 60, I think I have a 50 something. So I usually just use the 60 the most, but I have those just in case. And you use these to cast on every single time you make a sock. Next, I have my soft weights, and these go down inside the cylinder to keep the tension as you're cranking. And so you need 3 different sizes of those, and you can kind of combine them if you need to. And these are the heel fork weights. So they're like a heavy weight that hang down below when you are doing heels and toes. So that's what these are for, and you need all those weights with you the whole time. For the Dean and Bean machine, you also need this special dry lubricant and ceramic grease. And for different machines, you need oil and some different kinds of lubricant, but this is what we need for the Dean and Bean. Just because it's 3D printed, you have to treat it a little bit differently, so that I always bring that with me, just in case it starts to stick or anything. And you just spray that on, or you can put a little bit of this on, and it helps it keep going. Then I kind of gathered up all my yarn and wound a bunch of cones, so that's all ready to go. And that makes it really easy to just grab and go to the next tube or the next pair of socks. And then I just rounded up some other sock sets that I had that I haven't wound yet, but I might wind at least into cakes, or maybe I will take the drill and make them, put them on cones. I'm not sure yet. I mean, this is probably enough to last a weekend, but you never know. And you know how we knitters are. We just kind of, it's better to have more than not enough. So I've got all this kind of ready to go and set aside if I want to come home and crank some out onto the cones just in case. I mean, I don't know. You just got to kind of grab what you're in the mood for too. Like if I really want to make this set, if that's what's sounding fun, then I'll come home and get that ready. And that is pretty much everything I need. I just kind of pack up a big tote bag with most of this stuff. And then I have my little case over here. And some people bring way, way more than this. It can get really intense. And there's some hardcore crankers that, you know, sell their socks and do all kinds of things. So I'm kind of more the casual sock cranker. But I really look forward to this, and it does take a little planning ahead of time, and I think I'm ready. So I'm gonna pack this all up, and then we get to set up later today. So those are all like the big knitting supplies I need to bring, and all the little stuff is in here. And this is like the important stuff. Notebook. I write like, sometimes I experiment with rounds, like numbers of rounds to get to a certain size, or your gauge will be looser or tighter on a certain sock yarn, and you have to make little mathematical adjustments. So you always have to bring a pen and a notebook for sure to take notes. Then I always bring this green ravel cord, and that helps when you're casting on. It kind of separates. It's like a smooth, slippery cord that you can cast on one round, and then when you're taking it off, you can pull this kind of, you just pull it firmly, and then your piece with the hung hem especially will just kind of fall away from the waste yarn. You don't have to unravel the whole thing. So this saves a lot of time. And I have like a bigger, and after a while it kind of wears out, so you have to, You can use it multiple times, so I keep a little like bobbin of it. And then this is like a little clamp that goes around your weight, so you can keep raising your weight inside the tube. So you'll see me like on other videos kind of adjusting this, and I'll open it up and stick my weight a little higher up so it keeps the tension where it should be. It's very important. Some little stitch markers, because we do need stitch markers for machine knitting as well, especially when you get up to your toe. So when you Kitchener, you know where your two ends are. And then this is like a little Dean & Bean tool that they 3D print, and it kind of helps with your spacing of all your stuff around your cylinder. This little tool is a Dean & Bean specific one too. I love this thing. It helps you remember where you're at in your process, especially for us new people. It's very easy to forget which part you are on when you're doing your heel and toe, if you're lifting or lowering, or if you're just cranking. So this little thing is a little triangle that reminds you on which step you're on. It's really easy to lose track. And then I have several pair of scissors, different sizes. I have my good old Muji scissors that I love. A little snip for, especially when I'm doing afterthought stuff and you just want to snip one little stitch. That'll do that. I have like a little shorty ruler and a good old measuring tape from Hill Vintage. This is like my special measuring tape that I can't get rid of. Hill Vintage and Knits was my friend Erica's shop. Erica that I go to Rhinebeck with. She had a vintage clothing shop and vintage like home goods, vintage stuff, and then yarn in the same store. And it closed a few years ago, but it was an amazing shop. And so I keep these little treasures from Hill Vintage and Knits because they're very special. This is the lifter for your heel when you have to lift needles out of use when you're making a heel or toe. This helps you lift that designated amount because you have to lift up half of your needles on the cylinder. A little Dean & Bean screwdriver, which I really haven't had to use. Sometimes you have to take things apart and like re-grease or calibrate things, but mine's been good. This I found out at the last retreat. It's an Addy hook tool with two different hooks on the ends. It almost looks like a dental, thing. But this is better than any other hook I've found, and everybody swears by this. And someone was selling them at the last retreat last year, and they were like, you have to get one of these. And they were right, because this thing has saved my life so many times. So when stitches drop, this will help you pick them up, and it just comes in handy for all kinds of things. So this is an awesome little Addy tool. Then you also have these 3 different hooks, one with a latch, and these 2 pointier hooks that come with your machine, and they're all good for different scenarios, but they're all very important. So I just keep these all, I don't know if you noticed on my Dean & Bean, there's like little cups built into the machine, and you can just put your tools in there. So I always have the scissors and these pointy tools and like my little ruler that I stick in there for convenience. Then we have weighted binder clips, and these hold down the strands. When you're casting on, you need a little bit of weight on the strands that you just added, like your yarn and your ravel cord and your waste yarn. You need to put a little weight on the tails so it all catches in the needles. That's about it. I have a tweezers that's really good for picking up stitches too. When you drop, it happens to everybody, drop stitches. Another pen, some little metal light bulb stitch markers. Those come in handy for the toes when you're ready to Kitchener. And then obviously a darning needle for Kitchenering the toes. More stitch markers and another darning needle with the curved end. And that's pretty much all the little stuff you need, but it's all so important. Like nothing can be missing from this pile. So it all goes in the same pouch, so I always know where it is, and I don't mix this up with my other knitting stuff because that's a whole other pouch of things. But now I have this, which will be helpful. Anyway, that is what I'm taking to the crank-in. That's all I have for this week. Thank you for hanging out with me while I get ready for my crank-in. I'm gonna go put this all together and then get ready to go to our first setup day. They kind of let us arrive slowly at our own pace and kind of set up your little station with your table and get your stuff there, and then you get to keep it there, and then you can crank for a bit or you can leave. Like I have, you know, work and kids to get from school and all that stuff. And then Thursday is like a whole day of knitting if you have time, or that evening. It goes till later in the evening, which is really fun. And then Friday knitting, Saturday knitting, and then people kind of start to leave Sunday. So it's a good amount of time for a cranking retreat, and you need this time. You know, it is hard to like leave my machine set up in a random room of my house, you know, with kids around and family, and it's kind of loud. And so I try to do it when, you know, we're not all hanging out here watching TV or something. So it's really nice to have a designated weekend with time set aside just to do this, to focus on it and get in your zone, because it takes some concentration. It takes some like my eyes get tired after a while. It's a whole intense thing. So I'm really excited to get there and hopefully crank out some socks. I'm probably gonna do a mix of tubes so I can do my afterthought heel toe cuff like I'm showing in my video from this week. And then I'll do some whole entire socks also on the machine. They're different to me. Like the whole cranked sock on the machine will always have, the ones I do, has like a folded over hem. So that's like a different type of, I don't know. It feels different to me. And I really do like the hand knit ribbed cuff. There's like a hung hem. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. And I talk about that in other videos. I do have a whole playlist of Dean and Bean where I do crank some socks and kind of talk about that stuff. If you want to see more of that, I've got it. I have a playlist. I'll link it or something probably in the notes. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna head out and go start my crank-in weekend, and then I'm gonna take video while I'm there. I'll show you what I make. I'll probably show you some of I know like a couple people there. I don't know everyone, a lot of people from out of town, but I'll remember, I'm sure, familiar faces from last year. But I'll just kind of show you what the whole weekend is about next week. So join me next Saturday for another video. It'll be a crank-in recap video, and we'll see how many things I end up making. I don't know if it'll be very many or not. It's hard to tell. Sometimes you make mistakes, you have to start over. It's like, you know, it's still handmade. It's not automatic by any means. There's lots of little things that can go wrong. There's dropped stitches. You can mess up the heel, mess up the toe. I'm still totally learning. I'm not a pro, but I've learned a lot since I went last year. Last year was my first year ever going to this retreat, or to any of them at all, like a crank-in. I'd never been. I was really nervous about going, and I think I went really late. Like I was supposed to go that morning and I waited till afternoon because I got scared. Because I just didn't feel like I knew enough to be there. I felt intimidated because I didn't know anyone there. But then when I got there, everybody was so welcoming and so helpful and happy to show the newbies what to do. And they all said they'd had their time of not knowing what was going on, and people helped them, and then you pay it forward next time and help the people around you. So it's a lot of that kind of community-based learning, where I learned so much just from going that one time that like it was irreplaceable knowledge that you can't learn that any other way really than having people around you to help you troubleshoot with whatever's happening at that moment. So it's just a kind of valuable experience, and I'm excited to go back this year knowing a bit more, and maybe I can help my friend Josh, who's coming for the first time. So it's gonna be really fun. Check back next Saturday for another video about that. And thanks for hanging out today. It was really fun. Anyway, I hope you're having a good weekend or a good week ahead, or whenever you're watching this. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your comments. I love chatting with you in the comment section below. So thanks for interacting with me in that way. It's really fun to see people have advice and ideas and all kinds of stuff. So I really appreciate that part of this community. And please like and subscribe if you would like to see more of these videos. I have a new video every Saturday morning, so stop back and see that. I'm also I post a lot on Instagram. I post almost every day, so you can check out my live updates of things happening over there. I am Jen Geigley on Instagram. And yeah, thanks. I hope you're having a good one. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.